Thanks everybody for joining us today. We appreciate you getting on our industry update. We are recording this and we'll send this out as a recording to all who registered and posted up on our website. And please remember to use the chat feature for questions that will be handled at the end. With that, I'm going to turn this over to John to kick us off.
Thank you, Hope, and good morning to all of you. We really appreciate you joining us today for this week's update with Melissa Bova. As a reminder, this information that's presented today is presented for the benefit and use of our restaurant, hotel, and travel and tourism friends, and is off the record. It's not designed for the press, so if you're with the press, please disconnect and check back with us later. We entertain all press inquiries and do our best to try to provide good, accurate information so that the stories that you all write can be great. So with that, I'm happy to introduce Melissa. Melissa, you ready to go?
I guess I have to be. What would you do, John, if I said no?
I'd introduce Eric or Hope.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Lots of updates today, and I'm putting on my John Longstreet hat today because I have all kinds of data and information that we've gotten some recent surveys, and that's usually John's wheelhouse. I'm just the one who uses wit and humor and hopes that gets me support and votes. So I'm gonna give you all kinds of information, lots of updates today. But not as many updates as we'll probably have in another 2 weeks. So we're going to lay the groundwork today and hopefully have a lot of information moving forward. So with that, let's go to RRF, which for the last now 2 months has been the primary reason many of you have been joining this webinar. And for the last 2 months, many of you have been saying, what can we do? How can we do more? How do we push this? And we are now at the point where we need to start pushing hard for RRF replenishment. We had said for a long time that we had an infrastructure bill Congress was working on. We weren't going to get RRF in that, which I know frustrated many of you, but it really is, whether we want it or not, it's a timing issue in terms of moving things through Congress. So we have updated survey results that we're using to kick off a new campaign via our national partner, the National Restaurant Association. The Delta variant is terrible. I think we all feel like we're going through Groundhog's Day a little bit right now, where we thought we were through it and now it feels like we're going backwards. But if you were to try and put a little bit of a glass half full spin on it, it is showing how sensitive our industry is to these changes and how important it is for our industry to continue to receive the support it needs to recover. So if we were trying to take a spin on the headache that is the Delta variant, it would be that. So the NRA did a national survey that we're using to do another big push to Congress. As you all probably saw in our updates, 19% of people are just not going out to eat anymore. 9% are canceling existing plans to go out to eat. 37% are ordering takeout, which they're still buying it from us, but we all know they're not spending as much via takeout as they do if they're sitting in the restaurant and getting that experience that you have when you go to a restaurant. And 19% are saying that they want to sit outside, which is good for right now and is okay for right now, but in the next few months, for many of us in the state, if not all of us, unless you like to eat out in your parka in a snowstorm, will no longer be viable. So this is where we are. For weeks and weeks and weeks, we were saying we need to talk to our congressional delegation and get them to co-sponsor one of the RRF replenishment bills, whether it's flat replenishment or whether it's finding existing funds and rededicating it to the RRF. We, quite frankly, don't care anymore. The focus is not on moving a bill, because if you remember, when we passed RRF in the first place, it was part of the American Rescue Plan. A standalone bill isn't going to move. The co-sponsors on that bill helps to show support, but the only way we're going to get replenishment is to include it in a future bill, a reconciliation bill, which now can be passed with a simple majority when Congress returns in September. This is not a this is going to be voted tomorrow vote. We're looking next month or two, which I told you, again, this is exactly what we went through with the second round of P3. It took months. But as Congress is getting ready to return, as we're seeing case counts increase, this is the opportunity we need to reach out to all of Congress and say, I don't care where you get the money, how you get the money, you need to replenish RRF. action alert went out yesterday from our national association. I'm sure Steph or Ben or somebody will put a link to that in the chat. If you have not done that and completed that and sent it to your congressperson and senators, please do so. If you can pick up the phone and call an office and reiterate how important it is to replenish, those are all the things that you should be doing individually right now. To put this in perspective, 177,000 restaurants across the country were not funded by RRF. In Pennsylvania, 2/3 of those of you who applied for RRF did not receive funding, and that amounted to $1.53 billion. So we are asking at minimum 48 billion be put into RRF. That would give all of those who applied the funds that they need, or up to 60 billion, which would allow those who didn't apply to get funding. But really, we're looking at ensuring those 6,414 of you who applied and didn't receive funding is able to receive that. So this is top #1 priority that we need you to be pushing over the next week or 2 or 3. And as we get more traction, we will inform you of it. So if we think that there is a reconciliation bill that's on the move that we could get this into, we're going to let you know immediately via a grassroots alert or via the daily update. So please stay tuned as we work through it. If we don't get this addressed within the next few months, I really think our window will close on getting that additional funding. So please, the last 18 months have been terrible, but this industry has never been more engaged politically than because of COVID. It's kind of forced everybody to pay a little bit more attention to government and what it does and isn't doing. And we really need you to tap into that over the next few months. So step 1 is that action alert. Secondary, PRLA will be placing additional op-eds around the state. We had a few of our members, thank you for those of you who did, place some op-eds demanding that RRF be replenished. We're going to be taking a more holistic approach of you need to help everybody that needs to get funded via op-eds. We're also going to be writing a letter from PRLA to our entire congressional delegation pushing this, and we'll keep you all in the loop as we get responses, because this is an issue that we will be demanding our congressional delegation respond, whether they support or don't support our industry right now. So RRF, as it has been for the last 2 months, is the #1 topic today, but it also will continue to be the #1 topic moving forward, because if we don't get this done now, like I said, I think we're going to lose our opportunity. So the Delta variant, the headache, the Groundhog Day scenario that we find ourselves in now. Another part of the survey that the National Restaurant Association did, and this is national, so you have to keep in mind that even in Pennsylvania, we skew a little bit differently than other states. But mask requirements, restaurants that are requiring masks, you can see 32% say they're less likely to go out to a restaurant if there's a mask requirement. 25% said they're more likely. 53% says it doesn't matter. Vaccine requirements at restaurants, 32% they're less likely. 33% say they're more likely, and 35% say no impact. So this is something that I think we're also going to see skew within Pennsylvania. You're going to have in your Philadelphia's, your Allegheny counties, I think there's going to be more support for those masking requirements, vaccine requirements, as opposed to the T part of Pennsylvania that's a little bit more conservative and doesn't really want to see any of those items come back. This is something we're going to be keeping an eye on moving forward. Our focus, which we'll get to in a little bit, continues to be vaccinations. That is the only solution we have. That's the only thing that's going to avoid this virus spreading. And we'll talk in a few minutes about PRLA's efforts on that front. But I did want to share some of this data, because I know many of us on the staff are receiving calls and emails from all of you asking, what are other restaurants doing? And of course, Philadelphia does have a mask mandate. But this is kind of the public impact and response to some of these decisions that are being made across the country. For my hoteliers, this came out last week, and this has been something that we've been fighting for. Our friends at the American Hotel and Lodging Association, the Asian American Hotel Owners Association have been fighting very hard for us on. Per diem rates have been frozen at the 2019 levels, which is so important to all of you. So it will stay at $151, at $96 for hotels, $55 for meals. I do have here, some of you are in areas that have a higher per diem rate. Our friends in Philadelphia, our friends in Hershey, Some areas of the state have a higher per diem rate, but the general per diem rate is going to stay at $151, and it will not be dropped down to reflect the COVID crisis of last year, which was really important. We wanted to make sure we continue to reflect 2019 real data instead of COVID impact data. So that came out last week, and that will be effective for 2022. So it's just something that you don't have to worry about moving forward. The other item that I was writing the slides for today and it kind of snuck up on me and I realized it at the last minute is that the PUA, the extra money that people on unemployment are receiving is ending September 4th. It will go away. It is not being extended by the feds. So that extra $300 a week in unemployment will go away on September 4th. The question everybody is asking, is this going to have a huge impact on the labor shortage? I think it's going to have some impact. You lose $300 a week, I think that has an impact. But also at the end of the day, I think we all are realizing and seeing that the labor shortage is a lot bigger than that. So I think it will drive some people back into the workplace, but PRLA continues to recognize that this shortage is a lot bigger than just that. Further, something to keep in mind is the fact that if you look at all of the people that are on unemployment right now and the number of jobs that are available in the state of Pennsylvania, there's not enough. So we recognize that we really need to look at the labor issues and how we address that moving forward. Another item I want to bring up that we'll be putting in the legislative update, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, as it pertains to unemployment. This has been kind of the bane of all of your existence in terms of hiring employees because the Department of Labor and Industry reinstituted the work search requirement. So if you're going to continue collecting unemployment, you need to prove that you searched for work. And then what is happening is people sign up for a job with many of you, you schedule an interview and they don't show up at the interview. And then the question is that, can you turn them into the Department of Labor because they are rejecting an offer of work, but you didn't actually offer them work because they never even showed up to the interview? Or are they just allowed to continue to do that and say that they went and applied for 2 jobs and then never showed up to the interview? We've gotten further clarification from the Department of Labor that if somebody does not show up for a job interview, that essentially shows kind of indifference. And I'll have to, let me pull up the word really quick because I don't want to speak out of turn. If it essentially shows that somebody has a negative or passive attitude, in which case that would trigger the ability to turn them into the Department of Labor as it pertains to them not showing up for a job interview and rejecting work. So it would qualify. I know that's more work for all of you. And then the question is if there will be any enforcement on that front. There is legislation that's being sponsored by a state representative in Bucks County that would actually clarify that to ensure that if somebody is collecting unemployment, they sign up for a job interview, they don't show up for the job interview, you will have a means to at least inform the Department of Labor that that is happening. So that is legislation that will be introduced this fall. So please stay tuned as we work through that. And like I said, this is maybe 5% of the labor shortage issue that we're trying to address with this. The issue is much greater than just that at the end of the day. Next slide. Whew, I'm done with the federal stuff. Okay, let's jump right into where we are at the state level. The Senate and the House worked really, really hard for about 3 months this year, and then they went home for their summer vacations, but they will return to session in September, and we are gearing up for that. So the Senate will return on September 20th. The House will return on September 27th. Number one, low-hanging fruit is, as I would refer it, for PRLA for that first week the Senate is back, is House Bill 1154. You all know it well, and we're going to engage you again on a grassroots campaign for it. But as you know, House Bill 1154 is our legislation that makes cocktails to go permanent. It clarifies the ability to have outdoor seating and being able to expand your outdoor seating without having to wait 30 days to do so. It allows you to go to non-contiguous areas for your outdoor seating. And for my caterer friends out there, it would eliminate the 52 event cap on your off-premise catering permits and the 5-hour limit on those events. So just to really drive the ability for you to have more events and make up some of that lost revenue from canceled events that you ran into throughout all of 2020 and part of, or 2019, 2020 plus 21. I don't even know what year it is anymore. So that bill is currently in the Senate Rules Committee. That could go, they could pop it out of committee on the 20th and send it to the governor and he could sign it that night. So we have a number of legislative priorities we're going to be pursuing this fall, but number one is driving this legislation to the governor and getting the Senate to move that bill to the governor. We do have a survey that was completed about 2 weeks ago that really just drives what we've been saying all along. This is not controversial legislation and it's something that consumers want. And especially right now that we have the Delta variant, again, we don't want it, but it's here and there's going to be more variants in the future. The ability to offer cocktails to go, better utilize outdoor seating is going to be key for this industry for the rest of this year and quite frankly, going through 2022. So you can see here, 92% of those surveyed purchased takeout in the last 16 months, 67% said the option to purchase cocktails to go made them choose one restaurant over another, and 79% favor a proposal to make cocktails to go permanent. And this is not, you know, the Gen Xers saying 98% and the boomers saying 50%. Across the board, there's overwhelming support regarding cocktails to go. And it's across the board in terms of incomes, age groups, male, female, and the type of community. So this is something that we're going to be using and meeting with our senators to say, this is a bill you can send to the governor. This is a bill that for the Senate Republicans that were the reason the bill didn't move in June. This is a way to say that you're still standing up for restaurants and supporting our community and supporting our recovery and help us to get it through the next months. So please stay tuned as we work through updating our grassroots call to action for that. And also as we ask you to maybe target certain senators that we think might be not roadblocks, but might just need a little bit of a push to support this legislation. There is, if you are a nerd and you read the news every day like I do, a little bit of controversy in our legislature right now. And this is a bill that they could come back, move quickly, and send to the governor. So that is going to be our number one, first week the Senate's back, piece of legislation we'll be focusing on. And then from there, we're going to move forward with other pieces of legislation, our tourism recovery package, our association health plans, getting more funding to CHIRP. So you have, in addition to RRF, you would be able to tap into CHIRP for recovery funds, and CHIRP would be expanded to those that weren't eligible in the first place. So we have a lot of fall priorities we're going to be pushing hard going into this fall, especially when I talked to you all in June. I said there's not the drama or the support that there will be, that there has been for COVID, but I really do think that with the Delta variant, whether we like it or not we need to take this opportunity to pass the legislation you all need to recover and get through the next few months to a year. Next slide. So this is maybe outside of RRF, the whole reason you all joined the webinar today. Case counts in Pennsylvania, hospital. I love when a member calls me when I'm doing my webinar because it means that they're not on my webinar. Case counts are increasing, and right now you can see they're up 62% compared to 2 weeks ago. Hospitalizations are up, and 54.4% of the population is fully vaccinated. This is where we are, and it's not funny, but I mean, this time last year when we would have case counts a day over 1,000, I'd start losing sleep and I'd be waiting for an announcement. But right now we're ranging between 25 and 3,500 a day. And if you remember in January, we were ranging between 10 and 12,000 cases a day. So are cases up? Yes. Are they less severe? Yes. Are the hospitals overwhelmed? No. Do we have enough ventilators right now? Yes, we have over 3,000 ventilators available. So at this point in time, and for the foreseeable future, the governor has made extremely clear that he is not looking at doing any mitigation. And we're seeing that in terms of him saying, I'm not going to mandate masks for school districts. School districts should decide. But there is the focus on vaccines. And I don't care if you support vaccines or you don't support vaccines. If you don't support them, don't tell me because I'll yell at you. The focus right now is to get people vaccinated, because those that are vaccinated, if they catch COVID, they are not going to the hospital. They are not as sick, and they're not the ones driving out the case counts and the spread of the disease like those who are not. So that's the focus of the state. And that's good news for all of you, because none of you can take a mitigation announcement right now. So that is helping us. The end of the emergency declaration is helping us, because the governor would be in a gray area if he tried to mandate any type of mitigation. But his focus, which is lockstep with PRLAs, is to focus on vaccines and getting as many people vaccinated as possible. And PRLA, as you know, has been hosting vaccine clinics around the state, specifically in Philadelphia. But we're also partnering with the governor's office to get the word out about the importance of vaccines. So please stay tuned as we work on some commercials, some kind of pieces to really drive support of that. But that is the only thing that we can do right now to get ahead of this decreased case counts and avoid any type of local mitigation, which is really where the concern would be moving forward. Next slide. Philadelphia already, you know, as I said a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, everything's back to normal. We're not going to have any more mitigation. And then Philadelphia said, hold my beer, and made an announcement a couple weeks ago about their efforts to curb the spread of COVID. So Philadelphia, nothing's changed. They do have in place 100% masking for indoor. So if you have indoor dining, if you're going to the grocery store, if you're going to the gym, if you are going to your office, a universal requirement to be masked indoors at any indoor location in Philadelphia. Also, a requirement to mask if you are standing outdoors at an event that's more than 1,000 people. Alternatively, you could also institute a 100% vaccine requirement as a business. So you could say if everybody who works in a location, comes into a location, is vaccinated, then you do not need to wear a mask. Philadelphia handled this interestingly again, because by saying that you could have a 100% vaccine requirement, they essentially said that no children under 12 could enter an establishment because children under 12 can't be vaccinated. So they have not budged in entirety from that. What they have said is if you are a business that says 100% of your guests and your employees need to be vaccinated, the only way somebody under the age of 12 can enter is if they have to go to the restroom because they're eating outside and they wear a mask. That's where Philadelphia is right now. New York didn't even go as far as this, but this is where Philadelphia is at this point in time. So 100% masking indoors or 100% vaccinated. They are not, as far as we know, and Ben's on the call and he's our boots on the ground in Philly, you can tell me otherwise. They have announced that this is more of a complaint-based enforcement. So they're not marching through the streets and going in and checking vaccine cards, but they will enforce, thanks, Ben says I'm right. They will enforce if a complaint is given to them. So that's really how Philadelphia is doing this. What's next? Because that's the question we've been asking for the last 18 months about Philadelphia, is what will they do next? They're watching things is how I would describe it. It sounds like they want to see how case counts go over the next couple of weeks. If they continue to increase, I think we should be cautious and see if anything happens. If in September, colleges are returning. We saw this last year when colleges went back, case counts increased. I think that's something we need to be cognizant of. I will not even try to predict what Philadelphia could do, because Philadelphia will tell you on a Monday, we're not going to do anything. And then on a Tuesday, say, surprise, we're going to do a 100% masking requirement. So I don't think Ben or I are comfortable making predictions, but I will say I'm not taking a sigh of relief in the city of Philadelphia in terms of things won't get worse before they get better, especially going into the fall. And that's what makes it even more important for us to move House Bill 1154. So if case counts increase, cocktails to go, outdoor seating are still available to you to utilize if that's the case. Allegheny County, as of right now, continues to follow the state. They're keeping an eye on things as well. And I did put other counties on here too. If you are in a county that has its own health department, they have the authority to mitigate. So that's something you need to keep in mind. So obviously Philadelphia, I said Allegheny County, Erie, Montgomery County. I think Chester and Bucks are still sharing a health department. Up in the Lehigh Valley, they have a health department. So we do not expect, similar to before, a lot of piecemeal different mitigation efforts at the county level. The push continues to be vaccines, but that is what we're keeping an eye on right now. And I'm not saying this again because I think something is going to happen, but I was taking a big sigh of relief in July, and here we are again. So we will keep an eye on things. And like I said, the best thing you can do right now is to make sure that you're vaccinated. Your family and friends are vaccinated, your employees are vaccinated. We are seeing vaccine mandates from businesses increase now that Pfizer has been approved. It is FDA approved. That will hopefully drive some more vaccinations. And then if you were to ask me the question of, Melissa, what's going to happen when they start doing the boosters? I'm going to say, heck if I know. So as we get more information, as they start doing the boosters coming up at the end of this year, we will give you all the information needed for that as well. Because that will drive a lot of questions, especially for those in Philadelphia and those of you that have a vaccine requirement. How could the boosters impact checking that box in terms of being vaccinated? And I thought today was going to be shorter, but I kind of went on a rambling rampage today. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to Hope, and then I will take questions.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Sorry, my video is not working, so you'll just have to listen to me. We do have some golf outings coming up that are some really great. They're going to be benefiting the PAC, so our political action campaign funds. So we'll be out west doing that. The Hops for Hospitality Beer Festival could be attended separately, or if you're going to the golf outing, go to it right afterwards. So please check that out. Brandywine will be having a golf outing, and Central Chapter will also be having their golf outing on October 18th. Both of those will benefit the Educational Foundation and the HARP Fund. So please check those out. And then Philly, instead of doing golf, has decided to do a great Philly wine and cheese pairing. It'll be a wonderful event. So if you can make it on the 15th, please check that out. And that will also be benefiting the Ed Foundation. Next page. Melissa will be back in September to give her updates. We are going to continue with the every other week. So she'll be on the 8th and the 22nd. We're actually adding one on the 15th of September. It's going to be a group coming in to talk about ADA website compliance. I think this is a webinar that everybody should get on. Everybody should be keeping their eyes out for this. It's a great group out of Florida that does this type of work. So please keep an eye out for when that invitation goes out. And tomorrow, the National Restaurant Association, the Ed Foundation, National Restaurant Association, Ed Foundation will be having a roundtable with IT experts to talk about digital orders, order management systems, cybersecurity, and how IT can help with workforce shortages. Next page. We will be having our annual meeting in November, and we'd love to recognize some of your employees and yourselves and all the wonderful work that's been going on throughout the last year. So please check out the Spirit of Hospitality. Get in, you can apply for someone or apply for yourself. And we will be awarding those on November 8th will be the annual dinner. Again, the Hops for Hospitality, this will be benefiting PAC. So it'll be a great collaboration of several different brewers coming in. So please come to that out in the western part of Pennsylvania. We are still working on our Level Up campaign. So if you have any of your employees that you think would want to share their stories, please get in touch with us and share those stories. We are trying to bring up the profile of what a career in hospitality means. We are promoting our job board every day. So please make sure to get your jobs out there also. And as always, we still have the individual and family plans that are available where you don't have to have the insurance, participate with the insurance, but your employees can participate with these plans. I think this is an important piece with helping to retain staff and giving them those options. Oh, and Steph just put the Level Up submission form in there. So if you maybe copy that over and share it with your employees. We are having our ServSafe classes, and they are out, and they are going to fine you, and you'll get nabbed if you don't have your people up to date with their certificates. So please look at our schedule. We have multiple classes throughout the state of Pennsylvania. You can also do a remote training, so you can do online and remote proctoring. So there are a lot of options to get trained and make sure your staff are up to date. Our schools are going back into session, and my hope was they would be in person. And I think they are in person right now, but they still are going to need virtual experiences because there are going to be those times where they go virtual or maybe remote. So if you can help out with providing any kind of virtual content for our schools throughout the state, that would be wonderful. Next page. And that's it. I don't think there's a ton of questions, but I will turn this over to you, Melissa.
I'm gonna, Hope, I thought you said they will find you on ServSafe, and I just had an image of like a health inspector like popping behind a door and being like, gotcha. So thank you for that.
I should have had Sherry get on.
Few things just to reiterate that Hope mentioned, and I'll go through questions after that. One, that ADA webinar, please put that on your calendar. That is probably the #1 question we're getting from all of you right now, which is how you can make sure your website is ADA compliant, or as ADA compliant as it can be. That's an issue that's ongoing. So please mark your calendars for that. The PRLA annual meeting. I mean, we're having an awesome dinner and an awesome awards gala, but I think on behalf of all the staff, we'd love to just see you and have a drink with all of you and celebrate that we're still standing. 18 months at that point will be like 21 months into this. So please try and attend that. And of course, I have to do a plug for Hops for Hospitality. That goes to the PAC, that goes to our political action committee, which gives funds to legislators that don't turn their backs on us and support us. So please, $45 and you get beer and food. And I don't know a better bargain than that. So please consider supporting that event. If you are in the western part of the state, it should be a ton of fun. So with that, let's go through some questions. Have any surveys been conducted of people who plan to return to work? I am not aware of any surveys that have been done on that front. We can do a little digging, let's see, because I think the bigger issue right now is people are just leaving unemployment. So we have two certain groups of people that we need to be keeping an eye on. Those that are still collecting unemployment who return to work, and those who've just stopped collecting unemployment because they just don't plan to return to work. So let us do a little digging on that front. I'm not aware of anything off the top of my head. I don't know if anyone from the team has anything, but if we can find something, we'll definitely share. I think there was a question about the Delta variant information that was in the update yesterday. Steph, thank you for getting that over there. Can you please post link to report interview work no-shows? That will be it's actually an email we received, so I will be shortening it a bit, and we will put that in the daily update today. So please keep an eye out for that and that information. I promise it will go on the update for today. So then I won't post a page and a half of information in the chat that no one will want to take the time to read right now anyway. Survey percentages on cocktails to go. Are these national stats, or does NRA parse out the responses from PA? So Allison, great question, because I'm obsessed with this data. Obviously, it is Pennsylvania specific. It was a survey that was taken specifically of Pennsylvanians. So this is people in our state who have participated in the survey. We're not pulling numbers from other states. So it really reflects the support within the state as well. So I haven't put it in the update yet because I kind of want to get it out to the legislators and say, we told you so. I might say it that way, or I might say it nicer. I haven't decided yet. But those are in-state numbers that we included in the update today. And then Steph put in the Level Up Story submission form. And I'll give it another minute. And I just do you know how nice it is to do a webinar now and not have like all of us banging our heads against the wall asking if we could have a standing cocktail reception, or when you had to keep your mask on or take your mask off? Like, we would go like an hour and 15 minutes on these updates. And this is kind of refreshing that we are not down that rabbit hole of trying to understand mitigation anymore. So I think with that, I just need to get a lot more done between now and 2 weeks from now, so I have lots of exciting updates for all of you. In the short term, like I said, RRF, and stay tuned for a grassroots action alert regarding House Bill 1154 for the state. And we're going to hit the ground running this fall. So I know on behalf of Zach and I on the GA team and everyone on the PRLA team that we forced to help us with these things, we look forward to getting some things done moving forward.
Thanks, Melissa. That's great. That's a great update, and we appreciate you all joining us today. I think we don't get all the questions because they know how to reach out to us now with email. So I think they all go that way now. But as always, this is recorded. We will put it out. If there's anything in there that you need that you don't see, if you want a separate slide, you can reach out to myself or Eric and we can get that out to you separately too. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, John. Thanks, Eric. And everybody have a great rest of your week. Stay
Thanks,
safe.
Melissa. Thank you, Hope.